I am very privileged to live in a country that gives me the freedom. And I was also raised by two parents who genuinely had a love for me, that taught me good values, that taught me to take care of myself, and taught me that if I make the right choices, I'll make it. That is real privilege. There's no such thing as white privilege. That's privilege. What's up, guys? Welcome to Let It Be Heard, where we are doers of the word, not hearers only. I'm your host, Jaden Heard, and we're about to learn why reparations is apparently needed to undo the harm that our country has done to Black people. Check it out.
Capitalism was built on stolen land, stolen labor, and stolen resources. And a check today could not undo the cumulative impact of generations of that stolen wealth.
Pause. No, capitalism, by definition, is voluntary consent between two people making an exchange of labor and or money, right? I mean, that's just that simple. Capitalism is like if you were having slaves or if you're stealing things, that's not capitalism. If anything, that's what you believe in. I'm assuming that you're a socialist, right? So, but the real socialism is what you're. That's the real problem. But I'll let her keep going. Let her keep going, digging herself a hole. You know.
In all of those categories, and so I think it has to come in the form of land, labor, and resources in an ongoing fashion. And there are structures that we have that could be flipped to begin to do that reparations.
Okay, pause it again. So now she's advocating for reparations, which, of course, she's a socialist, so this makes sense. First of all, okay, now you have to answer the question, who are you going to give the land to? Who are you going to take the land from? And how are you going to determine how much land each person gets, right? Or each person gets taken away from them, right? Also, you have to realize we all have ancestors from both sides of this, like, especially in the South. There's a lot of Black people who had ancestors who owned slaves. As a matter of fact, the first slave owner in America, look this up, was a Black man. Like literally, like, are you gonna take away land from Blacks and then give it to more Blacks or give it to white people? That sounds unfair to me. Why are we like, throw back to the CRT video we talked about earlier, but why are we making the people today responsible for being the victim and or the oppressor in something that happened 200, 300 years ago? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And again, you cannot, you literally have no way to tell who is responsible for what family tree is responsible for what, because first of all, family trees are so intertwined now. The interracial couples of nowadays have skyrocketed. You will be taking away land from the husband and giving it to the wife at this point. Like, at this point, probably. I mean, I'm mixed. Are you going to take away my mom's stuff and give it to my dad? Are you going to take away my grandma's stuff and get it to my other grandma? Like how is that going to work? Like, we're all in this together to fight against racism, but you're just making it worse. But I'll let her keep
in
going
fact, my opponent here mentioned 5 points and the corridor and what has happened to our businesses there. Part of what has catalyzed that exponential decimation of Black businesses is the 5 points bid, the Business Improvement District, which further steals from the community through taxation.
Pause it. You're like, literally, your ideology, socialism, is exactly what you're talking about. Like the government stealing what is ours through taxation is what you support. You support the government having ownership of pretty much everything. I mean, essentially. I mean, maybe not you personally. You may not realize that's what you want, but if you look at the examples of socialism that we have across the world through history or even right now, you see that's exactly what ended up happening. We can look at Fidel Castro, and that's just that example alone, Venezuela. I mean, people have told you over and over again that this doesn't work, yet you want it. Yet you expect it to work here. Let's keep in mind, socialism in its purest form can only work. It can't work, but I will give you a little bit of leeway in a homogenous society, in a very small community of homogenous people. and I'm not just talking about race, I'm talking about race, culture, values, religion, etc. It will never work in a 50-state United States with thousands of languages and cultures and races and way different values. It won't work. It's not going to work, especially here. I may give it to you in like a little small, like a, what are those people called? The people who live in those communities, and Amish. Yes, the Amish. Yeah, I'm sure socialism works in Amish communities. Sure, yeah, everybody gives, whatever, and you all split it up between each other or whatever, but here's the difference though. Here's the difference between the Amish community and socialism. Socialism is not voluntary. You giving that stuff up. Give it to me. Give it up. In Amish communities, it's like, voluntary. It's like a church, right? You tithe, right? Or you choose to live that way, right? Socialism, you have no right to live that way. You have no right to own, you have no right to essentially do whatever you want with your own property. It's not all yours. So I'll let her keep lying.
And I think there's a model that could be redistributed. Instead of a bid collecting extra taxation from the Black and brown businesses that are struggling, you could be collecting those extra taxes from white-led businesses all over the city and redistributing them to Black and brown owned businesses who are not part of the bid or who are simply just Black or brown.
Pause again. Why do we have to tax anyone? Why do we have to raise taxes on anyone? Why don't we stop? I actually agree. Look, we have these Black and brown businesses that are being taxed more and more. Well, then let's stop. Okay, whatever. I don't care. I'm a conservative. We look, I vote for low taxation. That's fine. So why do we have to lower here and increase here? These people have nothing to do with what's going on over here. Yeah, you wanna punish them for what's happening over here. No, that's not how society works. That's not how life works. You can't just make these demands and be like, and then run a tantrum like your mom just told you no in the aisle when you wanted some candy. That's not how it necessarily works. You can't just punish people. People worked hard for their businesses to build up their own capital, their own businesses, and their own product, and they took these risks. And now you're going to punish them because these people over here feel bad for what didn't even happen to them? Nothing happened to these people who own this business. Again, whatever happened 200, 300 years ago has nothing to do with right now. Think about the mistakes that you've made. I'm not talking about her specifically, but just you, the person watching this. Maybe just yesterday or last week. Right now, is that are you now going to demand that everybody how do I say this? The mistakes that we make before, is that gonna just completely change how life is now? No, it's not. You move on, you get better, and you progress. So why are we visiting back these mistakes that happened? That we didn't even make, by the way. I didn't make, you didn't make, these white people didn't make. I mean, they didn't do that. That was older people. And we're now mushing it in with today's society, especially in America. It won't work. It'll never work. But keep lying.
And that's one way to give back in the business fashion. I think when we talk about resources being returned, this is where consumer-owned or municipally owned resources are important because we are locked out of owning our control over our basic needs like water or utilities or any of those things. There is a way for us to change.
Pause it. No, you're not. I don't even know what she's talking about now. Who's locked out of your basic needs and utilities in America? Even the homeless people have access to free stuff. I mean, there's nothing. I'm not diminishing the fact of poverty. That's not what I'm talking about right now. She's talking about Black and brown owned businesses being taxed out of their minds, and now the resources have been stripped away from the Black people, and now we don't have access to. Maybe it's going over my head, but now we don't have access to water and utility. Who is she talking about? Keep going, I guess.
And put Black and brown people in ownership positions over our basic needs. I also really want to point out that the Basic Income Project
What is she talking about?
be, if it were focused, an important way to return a check to an individual in an ongoing fashion. But in its current format, is not reparations or not close to reparations. One, it doesn't focus on Black and brown people. Two, what they are experimenting with is unhoused people, and it's not a livable or prosperous wage. It is a welfare wage, and we know how that has worked. Those types of checks have not served us well, and we need to go far beyond welfare wages and
Pause it. I mean, it's true. Okay, it's true. I mean, yeah. Well, like welfare, terrible, right? But like, let's pause real quick, okay? You now want to move from something that doesn't work and increase the thing that doesn't work even more and expect it to work. When people who don't have resources or they're homeless, like you're not doing them any good by just letting them stay that way and then we're gonna give you a livable wage. Like we're just gonna give it to you. Like that's not necessarily like how you're gonna fix the problem, especially with welfare. With welfare, first of all, welfare. The issue with welfare is just not the fact that they're just getting free money. It's the fact that you're not incentivizing them to get a job. Welfare keeps them from getting a job because once they get a job, they're making less money than they were on the welfare checks. And now they're married to the government. That's the problem with welfare. All right. But with you giving them more money, they're still going to be married to the government and they're not going to get a job. So you're not going to fix anything. So keep going.
to prosperous wages, because we don't want to just survive anymore, and reparations goal should not be survival. It should be repairing the harm, which is this entire economy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I hear this argument all the time, like we have to repair the harm that we've done, and there's all these people just affected by the atrocities of the history of America. Guys, that is just not true. I grew up told all this and I believed it, but it's not true. It doesn't hurt the people of today from what happened 200, 300 years ago. It's a lie. It's made up. It's fairy tale. It's an excuse it's an excuse that people use to cover up the real issues, which is the choices that we're making as individuals. All right, if you just don't get pregnant before I don't know, the age of 21, right? If you get married, if you go to college or go to school, or just if you just don't drop out of school, if you don't commit a felony, and you just are just a normal person, you will be totally fine. It doesn't matter what economic barriers you're going through. It doesn't matter what his history has told you or what has happened. There is nothing more like sinful than someone making up excuses for their actions. I am so tired, like as a black person, I am so tired of people of my own ethnicity making excuses for themselves when they can easily just get up off of their butt, get a job, and go to work, right? Grind. And I'm speaking from, and I'll use the word, I don't like using the word, but I'll use the word privilege. I am very privileged to live in a country that gives me the freedom. And I was also raised by two parents who genuinely had a love for me, that taught me good values, that taught me to take care of myself, and taught me that if I make the right choices, I'll make it. That is real privilege. There's no such thing as white privilege. That's privilege, okay? But just imagine if every black American child was raised that same way, taught those very same things. Hey, whatever you do in this world, it'll be because of your choices and your actions, and that's what's going to lead you to your destination. There's a maxim that my campus ministry has. It's thoughts lead to words, words lead to actions, actions lead to habits, habits lead to character, and character leads to your destination, right? But that beginning right there, those thoughts, that's what you need to take captive. The Bible says we need to take every thought captive. But that beginning wasn't slavery. That beginning wasn't systemic racism. It was, what was I thinking of? What was I doing? What was I saying? What was I practicing? Who did I become? And where did I end up? That wasn't because of someone else. It was because of me. It's my choice. And that's what we need to be teaching our children. Make good choices, have good character, follow God and his morals, and everything in the end will work out. No matter, again, I don't care whether you came from the line of Donald Trump or whether you came down the line of slavery. The destination for those two people, if they make the right decisions, is the same place. So I don't want to hear excuses, especially in America. We have no excuse. We are privileged on its own to just live in this country. I actually just got back from France. I could go on a whole rant about that, about the freedoms that we take advantage in this country, especially in the church. And we have no place to complain about any kind of systemic racism or any kind of what you call excuses. Sorry for me getting a little like heated, but like, you know, I mean, it's true though. I will say the truth. And I don't, I mean, I'm sure many of you will say that as well, because, and black people really mainly about black people need to stand up and say that, like, because I know that they know that it's just an excuse. It's not real. It's not true. They don't truly believe that they can't make it in this country if they make the right choices. They don't truly believe that. I don't believe they do, because I didn't truly believe it before I became red-pilled, essentially. So, yeah, that'll be the video. Pray for this woman. Pray that, Lord, I just pray that her mind changes on this, that you reach her heart, that she would be less prideful, that she'd be more considerate, that she would be more intelligent, that she'd be thinking more of herself and the choices that she makes, and that she would just love everybody no matter what color they are. That's what we pray for these people. We don't pray that they on the downfall. That's what they do to us. We love them, right? So yeah, that'll be it. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And be sure to hit that follow button and that join button. When you hit that join button, it'll take you over to our locals channel where you can further support the show and get access to additional content. God bless.